And I'm struck dumb still to some degree by all of what emerged as a consequence of me making the first videos that I made. I went downstairs, talked to my wife and my son. My son was living at home at that time, temporarily. And I said, this piece of legislation is really bothering me because it calls for compelled speech. And I looked at the background documents and something wasn't right. And I said, I need to say something about it. They said, well, go for it. We'll see what happens. And all hell broke loose and continues to break loose, for that matter, which is one of the things that's so bloody strange about it, is it doesn't seem to end. And I would have thought when it first started, I thought, oh, well, I'd be a flash in the pan for a week or something, or 2 weeks or a month or 6 months or a year or 2 years, but it doesn't stop. And I really can't understand that. It's beyond my comprehension. Now, I guess it's partly because I continue to communicate my thoughts to some degree, even talking to mainstream media people, although increasingly less, and perhaps not at all from here on in. I mean, I had an interview with the London Times 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it was published. And, it was just another complete, absolute bloody nightmare for my family, my daughter in particular, because they took her to task in an extraordinarily nasty way. And, and the journalist who did the interview was completely, you couldn't invent her. Not only the way she was so deceitful in what she did, but I learned more about her background afterward as a consequence of another journalist who wrote about her. And, she's a very singular person, to say the least. And so I did feel at the time, like you did, I guess, that I was more afraid of not speaking than I was afraid of speaking. And I have something against being told what to say. It's like, I'll pay the price for what I have to say. I'm not going to pay the price to say what you want me to say. You go say it yourself and see what the hell happens. And, maybe that's just a kind of incomprehensible stubbornness in some sense. Although I think I did see the beginnings of what has unfolded since then, although I can't even really put my finger on what it is that's happening. So,
well, I wonder a little bit about, in some ways, there's nothing good about why you were absent from the scene. But there may be something good about your having not been there for every moment of it and being able to come back to the discussion with something like fresh eyes, because a lot of this is developmental. And, you say you're surprised that that this is continuing. And I must say, I'm having the same experience. I feel like I was picked up, my whole family was picked up by a tornado and we haven't been put down. And, I sort of feel like we were joined in the tornado during 2020. It was such a crazy year that a lot of people whose lives were continuing in some normal fashion are suddenly aware that things are wildly off kilter.